What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to tune in. I'm sorry. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in. And yeah, man, I'm doing a little sound check. All right, there we go. There we go. We got some sound. And
I gotta come
all
back
right, so
in.
yeah,
You
what you
guys give
say?
me a second. Go ahead. I'm gonna come back in. Give me a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Man. So all right. So all right.
Yeah.
We could go ahead and start out with the Angel Reese situation, right? Because I wasn't even. I heard she had a good game. Her last game was a good game, but I didn't know that she was that they was coming at her on social media for
Well,
her
yeah, the whole aspect. Let me explain. The whole aspect is coming for Angel Reese is this. ESPN put out their top nominee players of for the NBA for this year. Angel Reese was ranked number 12. Okay. Now, Angel Reese goes on a podcast and blows it up, feeling as though she's above number 12. She should be in the top five. So social media comes for people that do that right now. So my
right.
question to you guys would be this: one, is she deserving to even get into the top 10? And two, do you really think Angel Reese handled the situation in a way that will either justify her statement or will hurt her brand?
Yeah, I personally think because like this generation, and we probably gonna get into this also with like the NBA young NBA stars too, right? I just think that like a lot of these young NBA stars think that they don't have no filter and they think that all publicity is good publicity. So they don't really, unless it start to hurt their pockets or something like that, they probably won't care too much about what they say publicly.
What
Right,
did
but
she
hey,
say? What
well,
did she say?
she's saying that she deserved to be in the top five
Uh-huh.
because because it wasn't just the Caitlin Clark show last year. She was part of all the hype and the new form of the WNBA that everybody was watching. She had a lot to do with it too. It just wasn't Caitlin Clark, which I would say yes, she is right in the beginning. But where I push back on her is that your play has a lot to do with your situation. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna talk mad shit, you gotta play. Your gameplay gotta be up there. And let's admit it, her gameplay didn't put her in the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she had a lot of rebounds, but when it comes to the game of basketball, there's a lot more than just rebounds that put you into a top 10 category. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And until she understands and learns that situation, that your game got to get better before you can go at these players. All you're
Yeah,
doing is talking, and the internet tears you up when you talk.
Mhm.
yeah,
That's
Well,
yeah.
all it
in
is,
the,
you know.
to be in the top five. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just gonna say sometimes these kids they don't know that they're shooting themselves in the foot, right? You're asking the question, does it hurt their brand? Well, they're not gonna. What metric are they going to be able to have to know? Hey, these corporate guys didn't approach me because I did something stupid. They'll never know. So
Right.
so so
Yeah.
there's no way for them to gauge. Hey, I left money on the table because I said something stupid.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
I think the statements that she's making and the way she's presenting herself is right on brand because she's been doing this since college. And so she's gathered a following and everything else on social media because that's the climate of the young people. So she's actually right on brand. She's feeding into what got her all the followers in the first place. But to be in the top five, that's to say that she's all WNBA. And I can't see that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And,
you
and
know?
you got to also remember. You got to also remember too, what she did
Mhm,
in college. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
A lot of her success came, once she became a junior and a senior in college. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Once she graduate. So at that point, she's playing the lower competition. Now it's
mhm,
basically she's a freshman in the WNBA. So her competition level is so much higher and so
mhm,
much advanced because she's a pro now. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? So
mhm,
she's trying to get the same respect that she had in college when she was at the top of the game.
mhm.
Now she's in the pros. You're looking like you're an average basketball player. And her mindset, she's not.
Yeah.
So I think it's the point where as though she got to understand that When you are professional, your craft comes a lot harder. You have to work harder, and you have to be engaged in what you do 24/7, 365 days. When
Well,
you're a
well,
pro athlete, there's really no days off that you can take if you're an average player.
well,
And that's what she is right now.
she said at a press conference, everybody think that I'm not in the gym. She said, but I'm in the gym. I'm working on my craft, especially after the
Yeah.
game she just had. So she pretty much was like trying to say, y'all are talking all this shit, but I'm in the gym. I'm working and the
Yeah.
results are coming. But I will say that I don't want her to lose the mindset that I'm one of the best. You got to have that mindset. But then you have
Oh
to
yeah,
put in the work and everything. Because if you don't even believe it or own it, you'll never be.
Yeah.
So it's a gift and a curse there with that.
right. But it's a difference. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just gonna say my thing on it is that you got to have the filter, right? You don't necessarily need to tell the world. You can tell your dudes and your close posse, hey, this is who I am. This is where I want to be, right? Don't put it out. Don't open up and put it out for the rest of the world to dogpile on you.
Yeah,
That's what they
true.
do these days, though, Jim. That's what they do these days, man.
And everybody does it.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Jim said,
I just hope that
Jim said, tell your posse. I ain't heard that word in the clip.
So, I'm telling you, I'm old.
Me too, Jim. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I just think that I hope that she continue to get better though. You know what I mean? Like because that's going to be able to sustain her success in the WNBA. It's going to help her with her brand. If she have success on the court, I think it'll help her with her brand. So, but I like what she's doing. I was glad to see her with her McDonald's ad. You know what I mean? Because like she's getting some she's got a larger sponsor now besides like some of like a whole bunch of little small ones. So I think that's cool. But she gonna have to do it on the court though. You know what I mean? So hopefully she is in the gym like she says she is.
She's
that'll
very
translate.
pretty and very
It'll be a
marketable.
cycle.
She's very marketable. She's attractive. Now I'm gonna ask you guys a question, right? So you're saying she needs a filter, she needs to do this, that, and the other, but yet these companies are partnering with her. So it's gonna be a hard sell to try to get her to change what she does when she's having. You see?
I mean, if it's working.
Yeah, but look, and there's another thing that I just was reading about. Now, what Nike did is strategic. They put Caitlin Clark's Nike poster, up in Chicago. Okay,
That was crazy.
right, and put it way. And when I say they put it big, they put it big. Okay, on the arena and everything.
But
So hopefully the WNBA is trying to get that magic bird thing going with Angel Reese to get that that rivalry to boost everything up.
You can't.
It's just the point. Yeah, it's just the point of both of them. Yeah, both of them has to live up to that process.
I think the rivalry that's becoming that's the league what the current state is giving birth to is not Angel and Caitlin, it's Asia and Caitlin. That's going to be your rival.
I think so.
Trust me. I
then
know.
You got that girl Nafisa Collier though, man. She like
Nafisa, yeah, Fee is great. She's a great player. But I'm telling you right now, like Fee is a great player. But Caitlin, the whole thing, what draws everybody down racial lines is Asia Wilson and Caitlin Clark. It's a fact. It's a fact.
Right. Because Asia proves that she can play.
Yeah.
That's the whole key to it.
Yep.
You can't have a rivalry if only one of them can play ball and the other one can't.
Yeah.
That's not a rivalry.
They went crazy. The league went crazy when Caitlin walked into the W and she had that Nike contract and it got announced she was getting $28 million. Everybody, all the league, they was going crazy. Asia should have got that. Asia should get that. Why is she getting it? This, that, and the other. Now it's about Asia being the champion and being the MVP, and there's conversations on the MVP odds. Now Caitlin is number 2. the pre-odds and stuff. I'm telling you, this league is setting up for it to
Now,
be the Asia against Caitlyn rivalry.
so let me
Yeah.
ask you a question now.
Yeah,
Because of the NBA and the WNBA is trying to get so hot, do you
yeah.
think they need to lure Juju into the WNBA and get her out of college right now because she's so hot?
The league, the rules won't allow it. You know, they
Yeah.
would have to change the rules
Why not?
because
Yeah.
the
You
girls
can't leave
can't
early.
leave.
They
Yeah,
can't leave
go ahead, Mike.
early. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so
The
the
women
girls
can't
have a
leave
different
early.
rule than the guys?
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yep. So
Yeah.
they
Yep.
can.
That's not
Yeah.
and that's is that a NCAA rule or is that a WNBA rule?
I don't know.
I think it's an NC. I think it's an NCAA rule, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
I
Yeah.
don't,
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Because
Or it
if
may
I'm
just
not, if
be
she's
an agreement between the two, the NCAA and
Right.
the
Right.
women.
it's because is Juju a freshman or she's a sophomore this year?
Sophomore.
Sophomore now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly, to me, I don't think the WNBA can wait another 2 years to get Juju. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think they need her in there now to keep that fire, that flame, just keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, and so I just think that like with not just Angel Reese, but like all these young kids coming up, and you got in the NBA too. I think they need like publicists, like people, because they need to, even though they're not afraid to speak publicly and say what's on their mind, but they still need to be strategic about what they say and how they say it. So they need like publicists and stuff like that.
And it's a WNBA rule. It's not the
It is.
NCAA. The
Oh,
WNBA
okay.
restricts players in the United States from entering the draft either before the year they turn 22 or graduate early.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's a
That's
W rule. So yeah, you're right, man. They possibly might change those restrictions.
Yeah, man. Hey, these young players are coming in, freshmen, sophomore, and they're coming in red hot, and the NCAA is taking advantage of them. NCAA is getting these women in there. They're getting them to play ball. They're getting the TV views and everything. WNBA needs to understand they need to strike while the iron's hot with these women
Mm.
yeah. But you got to
because
remember also though, it's only like 12 teams in the league, right?
It's
So
13 now, Mike.
13, yeah. So you
Yeah.
only got
Yeah.
13 teams in the league. So that'll be hard every year. That'll be hard.
Right.
Especially if you're a sophomore coming in. If you take a shot and you miss, whereas though you could have just set, you could have continued to develop your game, then that's hardship right there. That's hardship for real.
I mean, but isn't that sports though? That's what sports
Yeah,
all
yeah,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
Striking
yeah,
while the iron's hot, man.
Yeah.
You
But
got
with,
yeah. But you
go ahead,
still want to
man.
protect your art,
yeah,
though.
right. I mean, but listen, if I own a WNBA team and I can convince Juju to come out, I don't give a fuck where she at in college. She could
Mhm.
be an 18-year-old going to college. If she's that good and she has that push like she has, I
Mhm.
need her on my team.
Yeah,
You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
that,
It's that's what it's all about in the end at the end of the day.
So let's say let's say that they let her come out in this draft. It's not going to happen, but let's say they did, right? Where does she go compared to an Olivia Miles or a Paige Beckers?
oh, she right
Mm.
there. She's right
Right.
there.
She's going
She's
to a
right
top five.
there,
I mean, a
Jim.
lower five team. She's
She's
going to
right
somebody in
there.
the lower five. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If she came out, Jim, Paige wouldn't go before her at all.
So she probably goes
Olivia
number one.
Miles wouldn't go before her at all.
She goes
Juju
number one.
is an all-around talent. The other night when they beat UCLA, she not only went over 30, she had 8 block shots.
Mm.
She had double-digit rebounds.
Mhm.
She's a different thing. Yeah, she's different.
Can you imagine if somebody like
Yeah,
LA picked her up,
yeah.
hometown
But
a
see,
Yeah,
hometown person?
yeah.
yeah,
But see, I don't think the W wants to run the risk of ruining its game because what they rely on is these young ladies building up their fan base in
Mhm.
college and then bringing
Right,
that
but
into the W. That's how they're growing their sport. So
but
when you start taking these girls out early, now you're starting to hinder the college game, which is also a great building a foundational place.
Yeah.
They both are feeding the college game is feeding the W. It's feeding it. So
I gotta disagree with that. Because
okay.
the NCAA doesn't give a shit about the WNBA. Because if they did, the WNBA, this is the first year, last year was the first year the WNBA registered as a legitimate type of situation. Okay, where people talk about the WNBA.
Mhm.
But the NCAA their women's basketball has been growing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but
So
I'm not saying the NCAA cares about it. The W do. Because the minute the W starts doing this, now they're cutting their legs off in a sense. Because
but
they use the college popularity to bring them girls into the W to grow their audience.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Before last year, before last year, the WNBA, everything they did, everything they tried was unsuccessful. Was
Well, it's
unsuccessful.
not really, not
Everything.
really.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Let's not sugarcoat it. Everything was unsuccessful. They
Not
never
really.
made money. What was one thing that was successful? They
Well, see,
couldn't even build
I'm not talking about
superstars.
I'm not talking about the financial aspect, but whether it was a rocket, whether it was exponential growth or growth, they've seen steady increase in viewership with their game over the years.
Right, but last year was their best year ever.
Yes, because of
Ever.
Caitlin. Yeah, because of
Right,
Caitlin.
and that's what I'm saying. They're finally getting stars that can boost their game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Juju right now is another star that can boost their game.
All right, I got a point. I
Okay,
got
Yeah.
something.
Well,
I got
man,
so I
something.
mean, look, go ahead.
man, hold up, man. Think about it. Think about it like this. Like the NCAA men's basketball and the NBA back in the day, they had a relationship that benefited both of them, right? So they will hold, guys, except for when you had situations with exceptional talent, they wouldn't leave early. But
Mhm.
the NCAA was
What?
they was
What are you
teaching
talking
kids
about?
how to play basketball. Hold up, let me finish. And so by the time you get to the NBA, then you know how to play the game. And so you bringing in a better product, right, to the NBA. So, but when everybody in the college thought that they could leave early, the NBA suffered because now you don't have that same quality of play. Even if you stay in college for 4 years, if you're not qualified, you still know how to play team basketball. You're going to be a two-way basketball player. You're just going to have all the basics down. And so the product still is going to look better than somebody who's
Right.
quit from high school, somebody who only played 1 year.
Let me answer this
You don't
question.
have
Hold on.
Kobe and Kevin
Let me
Garnett.
let me
You don't have
answer
those guys
an-
coming in every year.
answer this question. Name the last 4 year superstar that played all 4 years
Well,
in college.
you
Name
missed
the
what I
last
said though.
superstar.
But I said no.
No, 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 no. I
Well, you
heard what
missed
you
what I said
said.
though.
No, 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 no. I heard what you said.
Aesthetically, the product is better. That's why you have now a bunch of guys in the
Nobody
league who
stay.
don't know how to play
Nobody's
basketball,
staying 4 years.
and that's why even
Nobody
Right.
with
stayed 4 years
like everything is dead.
in 20 years. Nobody stayed 4 years in 20 years.
Right.
Nobody
And Mike,
stays 4 years in
and
the
that's what
NBA.
Mike's saying. Mike's saying the NBA is
Right.
suffering. Mike's saying the NBA is suffering because of it.
No, the NBA is suffering now because of it. But back in the day, 20 years ago, Shaq didn't play 4 years. There's rarely a superstar in the NBA now and then that played 4 years.
I don't know.
That 4 years, name
Yeah, but
one,
you
name
talking
one.
about
Grant Hill played
no, you
4
talking about
years.
superstars.
Grant
Grant,
Hill, Grant Hill,
Yeah,
Grant
yeah.
Hill,
Tim
he
Duncan.
lasted 3 years
When
and
did
then
Tim
4 years in
Duncan
the
come
league.
out?
huh?
Huh?
When did Tim Duncan come out?
Tim
Was Tim
Duncan.
Duncan a senior when he left Wake Forest? Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have anytime with you're gonna have more misses than makes. So if you talk about you have kids who left college early and didn't make the splash that they thought they was going to make, and then you know it's not the same. Then you got kids who was sitting on the bench
It's,
who left early. I mean, I can name a whole lot of guys who just sat on the end of the bench in the NBA who thought that they was going, or some guys who
it,
wound up playing overseas. So
Listen,
you
and
know,
I
you
can
got a
name, I
better
can name a
product.
whole lot of, I can name a whole lot of superstars that didn't stay all 4 years that are superstars in the NBA then and now. So what I'm
You
saying
said
is,
you
it's
can
not
name.
about. Yeah, I can name just as many superstars that didn't work, didn't go all 4 years. That's a superstar then and now. What I'm saying to you is talent. That's why when you can come out of high school and be a Kobe, you can come out of high school and be
Yeah,
Sean Kemp. I'm
yeah.
just saying this. You get the player when the player is hot. That's what every team in any sport wants to do, regardless of
No,
where
I
you at.
disagree.
Well,
I
we
That's
yeah,
why the rules were in place. That's
we
why the
not
rules were in place.
we're not disputing talent. We're just disputing how the W is choosing to grow their league, by not plucking these girls out early. Right now, right
Right.
now, right now, the W is in a sweet place because you got a lot of young talent in it now, and you got all these eyes. So all they have to do now is let the rivalries play out. And when Juju come along, Flage, she's eligible. When these young crop come along, that's going to add more stoke to the fire, but you don't have to jump the gun because right now, Asia Wilson, now that everybody's watching, people can see Asia and Fee and Caitlin and Sabrina and all these players. They got talent in the league, and it's only 13 teams. So it's
Hold
yeah.
up,
enough to carry that league right now.
but let me ask you a question. So what you're trying to say? 4 years ago, they didn't have any talent.
I'm
10
not
years ago, they
saying
didn't
that.
have any talent.
No,
That's
I'm
what I'm
not saying
saying.
that. I'm not
Then
saying that.
what's the difference between this year of the last year and the last 25, 30 years the WNBA has been working at?
Say
A
that
That's
gener-
what I'm
again.
saying.
A
What's the
generation.
difference between last year, all the money and the activity that they generated, okay,
We already
and
know that's
between
about
that,
Caitlin.
right?
It's about
But
Caitlin.
but listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that the same energy 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago when the WNBA was barely watched? They still had the superstars.
Because you didn't have a player that
Again.
had this girl's charisma and draw and that magnetism that brought all these fans in. You didn't have
That's
that.
my whole point. That's my whole point of what I'm saying. If you have that in the W, and if you have that in the NCAA right now, and you
You
know
don't.
that is building your league,
But you really don't.
Juju is. You come
You,
on now.
listen,
And
Juju is the best. Juju is the best player in college, but Juju does not have the draw and the eyes like Caitlin. She does not have that
no,
fanfare.
I'm not
She
talking.
has a
Listen,
good fan base, but she doesn't have that.
listen.
She's
You
not.
see.
People ain't following her all over the world like
Let,
that.
let me ask
In
you a question.
droves.
Is Juju the hottest thing in the women's basketball in college right now? Is she that
Yes,
point?
but it's
That's
not
all I'm
equate.
saying.
But it's not equating to Caitlin Clark's fanfare.
You don't have to equate to Caitlin Clark's fanfare. What you
Okay.
have to do is grab her, put her on a team
No.
in a low market, and let her do the same thing Caitlin
All right.
Clark is doing.
I know
Let
Jim.
her
Jim got
bring the
something to say.
fans.
I'm a be quiet because I know Jim getting ready to time, man.
Go ahead,
I'm
Jim.
I'm I'm not a big fan of the leaving early just to grab money. And
Mhm.
and I think yeah, Juju could be successful if she did that, but I think she'd be much more successful if she waited until she was a senior and graduated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Let
I
me.
think that equates to down the road bigger impact on the
Yeah.
game.
Right, right. And
Yes.
let me say this real quick, Clayton, before
No, you
you
good, Mike.
chime in, right?
Mhm.
Even Kenny Smith said about Michael Jordan, like what made Michael Jordan a better basketball player is that he had the opportunity to go to college and learn the game under Dean Smith. That's the difference between Michael Jordan and somebody like, and I don't want to keep throwing LeBron under the bus though, but the things
Yes, you
like
did.
the intangibles that
Hold up,
the
Mike.
intangibles, like
Hold up.
Mike, hold up,
You,
man. Let me finish.
you do hold up.
Intangibles.
You do know Mike got cut in high school, right?
I know that. I know.
Okay,
But
so
to my point. To my point, right? To my point. Mike got cut as a junior. What was it? A junior in high school. Mike got cut. So by the
Right.
time Mike was a senior, North Carolina recruited him. Then so he went and he learned more about the game, learned how to win. He knew about teamwork and all that stuff. So it was better for Mike to go to college. And what Mike stayed with, like 3 years? He left as a junior.
Yep, junior. Yep.
So,
He won back to back. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I thought, and Kenny Smith said that about Mike Jordan. It was good that Mike went to college.
Mike had no choice.
Huh?
Mike had no choice.
Yeah.
He had to go to college. He wasn't that good in high school.
Okay, but here again, going back to the ladies, right? So Caitlin, if Caitlin doesn't have the junior and senior year that she has, you don't have the hysteria around her. She took little Iowa to 2 national championship games back to back. They started traveling the country, and it was like the Beatles or something. So now Juju, she's got a great fan base, but you need her to take that USC team to the Final Four, to the champ, which is going to grow her legend. It's going to grow it. Right now, the W have players in the league that's young, that has that, and they've got a new audience. Because Caitlin is carrying the viewership on her own. And then when you put up against Asia Wilson and some of these other great players, that's going to be enough. Let Juju grow her fan base more. Let her create the hysteria around her. She is the best. Don't get me wrong, but she don't have the hysteria yet. She don't have.
All I'm saying is this, okay? The game plan, whatever game plan the WNBA has had and since existence, okay, has not worked. Okay, so if you change your game plan up, maybe you can get things in the process to start making your league work again and get it exciting again. Okay, because honestly, what they've been doing up until last year has not worked.
I mean, it's worked a little bit. It's worked in small amounts.
Yes.
Nothing like the. I mean, I remember the hype around Sue Bird. Again, I'm showing my age, but
I remember the hype around Rebecca Lobo.
Rebecca, yeah.
And you went way back, man.
I know, that's what I'm saying, It's the superstar. It's just my opinion, everybody. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
No. My only point was, it has brought some eyes in the past. The hype of the NCAA women doing what they do in college, in the tournament, and then going pro. It has worked a little bit. I think that it's just you cannot. No one could have foreseen the generational talent and the way things blew up, and just all the different. It was a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Including how Angel Reese factored into that story.
Yes. Including that. Yes. And
Did somebody mention Lynn Bias? I thought I saw Lynn Bias. Somebody mentioned something about Lynn Bias.
Tom mentioned Lynn Bias in there.
Yes, Lynn Bias. I think if it was a Lynn Bias, I don't think it would be a great Michael Jordan. I was a Lynn Bias fan. I was a Lynn Bias fan.
Yeah,
I was a Lynn Bias fan.
I mean, just think about what could have been.
Yeah.
Right. Lynn Bias in Boston.
That cat had it all.
Yeah.
He couldn't. Yeah. I love Lynn Bias. I sat in front of my TV every weekend watching Lynn. Every time Merlin was on, but Lenny couldn't dribble.
He could not dribble.
He could not dribble.
Lenny played some defense.
Yes.
But look at this. Me, Clayton, and a guy named Kevin used to sit in class every day and talk about Lynn Bias and Michael Jordan. That's all we talk about all week. Yeah, but Lynn Bias was that dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was my favorite player. Actually, it wasn't Mike. He was actually my favorite player.
Who had the better win-loss record when they met each other? Lynn Bias or Jordan? Who had the better record?
It was Jordan at that North Carolina program. It was Jordan.
Well, I know Merlin beat him once or something, a couple times, but
but more often than not, it was North Carolina, because Mike had more talent. Then you had Mike at North Carolina. When Dean Smith was there, that North Carolina that ran like a well-oiled machine. That North Carolina program. So yeah, that was different. But man. So, but I want to kind of phase into like because like what's going on with Angel Reese. and some of like her entitlement, and not just Angel Reese, but the young players of their entitlement and stuff like that. I think that also going on in the NBA, and even to a larger degree, right? So what I want to do is I want to play a clip from what's the guy from BJ Armstrong, and let y'all hear what BJ Armstrong had to say about today's basketball players.
Possible. However, now the mentality is different. If you want to play 82 games, there's people who know how to do it. A guy like me at my size could play 82 games, not 1 year, for multiple years. There's people who know how to do it. If you want it, the game is supposed to be hard. And we played 82 in the NBA. And we used to go to this gym on our own to a gym called a Powerhouse. Maybe that's the formula. And we did this for what, about $9.99 a month, Scott, for the membership? Okay, so we know that works. Now these guys got nutritionists, they got massage therapists, they got offer because there was hand checking. We didn't have the same equipment. So I know it's possible. However, now the mentality is different. If you want to play 82 games.
All right, so that's BJ Armstrong, used to play for the Chicago Bulls. Just giving his take on like the mentality now of today's NBA ball player, and basically what he's saying is like there is no excuse for these guys not to really like work on their craft or and it kind of alludes to like when you talk about like when they take off time, like managing their time and stuff like that, like they played 82 games. People took pride in that. So what y'all think about what BJ Armstrong said about, these guys today?
Well, and let me tell you this. I think he's right, but there is one thing that he didn't mention that does qualify for these guys to do what they're doing. It's called the guaranteed contract. Okay. If you put in that contract, you have to play a certain amount of games to get your money. That's a different story. But when you don't have that incentive in your contract and you still make that money regardless, if you play one game or you play 82 games a year, that's the part that changed the whole dynamics of the NBA for me. Not the fact that they don't.
But he's saying though is like they didn't get the money, and so they played 82 games plus they went, they played for their own self to go to gyms and work out and put in that extra work. Right. So they could be, because
they had to be good. Right. They had to be good at what they've done, and they had to make sure their bodies got through the season because they got paid for what, not for what they did, but what they're going to do. What a guaranteed contract is I'm paying you for what you did, not what you're going to do. That's the whole difference. These kids now like, yo, I got a toe injury, so I'm not going to play because I got to look out for next year. Or I got to make sure I'm healthy for the playoffs and stuff like that. They couldn't afford to do that because if you didn't play, you were gone. Coaches didn't care, what your name was. If you weren't on that court contributing, not only did the fans tear your ass up, the coaching staff tore your ass up, and upper management did it. That's when basketball was great because everybody had to be hungry, even if they were still fed. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player alive, stayed hungry, but yet he was still the greatest. That's worth ethics right there. These kids just don't have that no more.
I mean, this goes back
to what you say, Clay. What you got? Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was just going to say this kind of goes back to the conversation we had yesterday about what PK Subban said.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's I want to see these guys give 100%, go out on their shield, and that's just not the mentality today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, BJ said it. The mentality. So it's a mentality thing. It's what are you playing for? You have to decide what you are playing basketball for. And those guys in the past, especially if we keep using Mike was playing to win. He wanted to win. He wanted to compete on a high level. He was chasing something. Winning drove him all the time. Some of those guys back in the 80s, 90s and stuff, they were playing to win so they could get a nice life for themselves outside of basketball because the contracts wasn't so big. But now
they weren't guaranteed.
They don't have to do that. These contracts are huge. And so they
And
set for
guaranteed.
life. So, see, it's important, man. A lot of people want to get to the destination. And the destination can be a tricky thing because the destination can make you feel like, okay, I'm done. But it's never about that. It's always about the journey. The journey is the experience. And so when people understand that, or when they're driven by the journey, they never stop working. They never stop competing. They never feel like they have arrived or they're done. So Mike and them will win titles and then take a week off and then they back in the gym because the journey continues. You know what I'm saying? But for these kids, the destination is the bag, the money. And once I get it, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
So what is my motivation? What am I playing for? So, you know, I just think that's the thing. It's no incentive to play if you're not playing to win. But I do believe some young athletes, some of these younger guys do have the desire to win and are not playing just for the money, but the league is promoting other stars that seem to have more flair to their game and stuff like that. I would say Steph Curry is one star they promote that I think is driven by winning. I don't think I got the bag, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? And you can even say LeBron, you can say some other Kyrie Irvings, people like that. But a lot of these kids, man, it's just once I get to the league, that's the destination.
Yeah,
You're right.
I agree with that. I think a lot of times, you know, it comes from entitlement, but I think it's part of the environment that, because I don't want to blame it on the kids. It's a part of the environment that ownership and management has created for these kids to play in. You know what I mean? And that was part of my argument yesterday when we spoke about, you know, like I said, when I was mentioning the changing of the game. You know, it's if somebody puts you in a situation where you have to be tough and you have to be aggressive, then more than likely that's what you're going to be. You know what I mean? You're going to be that. But you know, that's the difference between somebody going to prison or somebody going to private school. You know what I mean? Like you go to school, it's a more relaxed environment. You know what I mean? It's a more different type environment. If you go to prison, you know, it's a whole different mindset. You know, and so that's the difference. You know, not to say that basketball is prison or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, you know, those two different environments, you just gonna get two different mindsets and reactions.
And I'm not putting it on, and I hope I wasn't coming off like I'm blaming the kids, because I'm not. I'm just saying this is the mentality. Right. If I look at it, I look at society as a whole. We've created this condition because everybody talks about generational wealth, get to the money, the bag, this, that, and the other. Everything is money driven. The only way you make it in this world, you're successful, is if you got all this money. So, and then young kids coming up, their parents jump on them, grab them kids up and want to send them these trainers, spend all this money. You got to get to the NBA. You got to get to the NBA. You got to get to the NBA. You know, this is the mentality. So it's not winning. It's not falling in love with the sport, you know, because when you really love something, you love every aspect of it, and it always gives you a sensation, a high, a stimulation, and you're no longer consumed with the end result or somebody telling you how good you are. The game itself is giving you your reward because it's giving you that sense of stimulation and joy. So that's why, like Mike and Kobe and all those guys stay in the gym working, and a lot of people say their work ethic. It looks like work ethic to us, and it is. But why they do it is because practicing, playing, shooting, drills, they all get the same sensation. They get the same sensation from everything. So when you start doing something like that, you continue to chase that high, and it looks like discipline and a work ethic, but in all actuality, you're chasing a feeling.
Well, that's why I like watching the NBA Summer League. You know, everybody that's playing in the Summer League is hungry. And them boys play hard, them boys play tough, and it's fun to watch that type of situation. I don't start watching the NBA until after the All-Star break. And then I'm not even really excited until they start the playoffs. So it's like you guys have been talking about. It's all about the situation and the hunger that you have and the passion that you have.
I think to tie it all together, though, the passion is there until, but back to Mike's point, and I think Clayton, you said it too, until they get the bag, right? And then the comfort sets in. And if you don't have that other thing that's pushing you out of the comfort zone to keep going, you're just going to be comfortable being that dude that plays in the league.
So,
Well, and you're right, and that's why. Go ahead, Mike.
I think it's about, you know, like I think like Clayton said, it's reflective of like human nature, right? Like the path of least resistance. You know, like most people going to choose the path of least resistance. If you don't have to, you know, anything that you don't really have to do or that's tough, you know, and you can still accomplish the same things without going through those trials and tribulations, more than likely, most people are going to choose to go that route, you know, choose the path of least resistance when it comes to just about anything in life.
Right. And that's why I think the NBA is recognizing it because they changed some of the rules. Like last year, I mean, even last year, a year ago, I mean, 2 years ago, they changed it that you couldn't win an award unless you played a certain amount of games. No matter what the award was, you had to play a certain amount of games to be eligible for that award. So I think that the NBA understands the monster that they created. Now it's like putting the genie back into the bottle for them. You know what I'm saying? You let it out. You let the collective bargaining agreement, let the players take advantage of the league itself, and now what you have now is from the Frankenstein monster that they created. So, like you said, I can't really blame the kids because if I could do the same thing, my mentality probably at a certain point, at a certain age, may be what they're thinking. Like I'm up in age, so maybe I don't have to play as hard because I already have the bag. You know, you never know what you be thinking in your mindset if you're in that situation. But you got to look at it this way: if your job said, "Hey, I'll pay you $100,000 a year," you only got to work 6 months out of the year. Are you going to work 8 months? You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those situations.
You
Human
know what?
nature.
But if you're doing something, if you have a job that you're doing something that's it's a passion of yours. It's like something you absolutely love. You're going to do it every day, whether you're getting paid for it or not. You're going to do it every day. I'm a testament to that. I'm not getting paid a dime for what I'm writing right now, but I'm doing it every day. And there's no guarantee I'm going to get anything, but I just love it. So I do it every day. You know what I'm saying? So when you got something you love to do, that's giving you your gratification, you know, more than anything else, you know. And to me, it comes down to these kids, a lot of the younger players, it appears that the motivation was always just getting to the league and getting to the money and being able to have some comforts once you get that. Some players, it's not that, it's winning, it's competing, and that's constantly their drive, you know. So no matter how much money you pay them, they can't not compete because this is their nature, you know. And that's what the Mikes in them were. This was their nature, you know. Mike played on a handshake his whole, you know, that long contract. It was a handshake, you know. And then you know, but he kept playing, you know. And he was getting paid outside the league, but and Kobe too. I don't think he ever had a situation where his contract was an issue. I don't think AI ever had a situation where he holding out my contract. You know what I'm saying? I don't think these things came in. Magic Johnson, you know, Larry Bird, people like that. I don't think it came into their conversation, you know?
Right, but and to piggyback off of that though, but what you're talking about now are top tier players. The thing that's really affecting the league right now isn't really the top tier players. It's really that medium player or that new up and coming player that's coming out of the college. That's where the NBA needs to focus on those type of players and, you know, elevating them to the right point where as though they can build stars, because right now the NBA has no idea who the next star is going to be, and that guy that they thought was going to be the next top stars don't want to be it.
But do you think the top tier players in the league is creating a culture where the guys coming in can kind of settle and be mediocre and not necessarily chase greatness and stuff? Because I remember when Charles Barkley was talking about joining the Sixers, And he went to Malone. He went to Moses. Like, you know, what am I doing? What I'm doing? And Moses said, your ass too lazy. You got to lose weight. So he was wanting to be great. Like Jordan latched on to Dr. J. Like, you know, people come into the league and they latch on to someone. Akeem latched on to Moses, you know. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
And to me, I don't know if like with Kevin Durant making the statement that he made the other day about you know, it seems like it's more fun to complain about the league than to celebrate it. Maybe we should just not do, you know, this kind of attitude to me is setting a precedent for the kids coming behind, because your energy is infectious. Like Dr. J was infectious to guys coming. Magic is this is infectious. So now you almost become a product of the environment. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like in a
right.
sense.
Exactly.
And the key is to that, the environment in the NBA has changed. To be called the NBA world champion does not mean as much as it
It
used to
does
back
not.
in the day.
It does not.
That's the problem of it, okay?
Yeah.
They devalue their champions, okay?
Mhm.
They are devaluing things that goes on in the NBA, like the All-Star game, you know, that conference final games and stuff like that. The NBA is not showing enough to make these guys want to say, I'd rather be champion than have the bag. Because
Yeah.
back in the day, it was championships get you the bag. You know, the better you were, the
That's
closer
it.
you were,
That's it.
you got the bag. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, you can be on a losing team or a losing record the last 5 years and still get a bag. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah.
where I think the NBA has gone wrong with the way they're processing these new and up and coming players. It's all about the bag, then the championship. Where it should have always been the championship gets the bag. So that's my
Yeah.
thing about it.
Yeah.
Well, now, what do y'all think about like the attitude that these younger players have now that older players back in the day couldn't play? Like a lot of the players that are playing today think that, you know, if you played in the 80s or if you played in the 90s, you just wasn't, with the exception of a few players that played back then, like you wasn't a good ball player.
Isn't that what every
You know what?
generation?
Hold
I
up,
think
man.
it's every generation though.
Right. We all made, you know, a lot of us made that mistake of thinking that, you know what I mean, like the
Yeah.
generation that came before us couldn't play,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
I don't know what you can
Because
do to like kind of combat that, though.
it's not, because if you look at it this way, because we saw Michael Jordan play, we consider Michael Jordan the greatest player ever. But you know what? There's players in the 60s and the early 70s I never saw play before. But my father and his brothers will tell me that they're better than Michael Jordan ever was. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's because of what we can see visually and what we can focus on to say, hey, I saw when Michael Jordan put up 100 points, or I saw when Michael Jordan just destroyed the Pistons. I saw that physically, so therefore I can relate to that. Them people in the
Right.
60s and the 70s, when you know basketball was fresh and new, they saw great players. They saw physicality. They saw all that other stuff. So when they come back to me and be like, yo, Michael Jordan is good, but you put Michael Jordan to this point, they have their argument. And I think the same thing is going on with these kids now. That's why I think they look up to LeBron so much. Okay?
Yeah.
Because
That's
LeBron is that era that they see. You know what I'm saying? So they relate to LeBron because they can see LeBron and see what he does, see how he plays. Whereas though I'll push back is LeBron and Kobe. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad players like Tim Hardaway is speaking out a little bit, because it's disrespect for the young kids to say Mike was the only nice dude during that time. He wasn't playing anybody. That's their argument to fight, you know, because I can't call it, but because that's what we do, you know, that's what we do as kids.
Right.
Let me read this statement right here about Tom. Tom said, my brothers love Julius Erving and seen him in the Rucker Park. He played with people on the rooftops, and they told stories, you know, the stories about his brothers was telling about watching basically Doc at Rutgers Park. I only seen clips of Dr. J. I did see clips when Dr. J played at the Rutgers and stuff like that. It was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah, them kids, they was lined up on the roof, hanging in trees, everything to watch Doc. Yeah.
Oh, and we were those kids.
Yeah.
We were those kids hanging
Yeah.
out, yeah, 8, 9 years old, watching Julius Erving do his
Yeah.
thing in Rutgers.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We were those
Yeah.
kids. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you this: when I grew up, and in my teens and everything, I would try to play with the old heads, and I would
Mhm.
talk so much shit. You can't stick me old head. You can't stick me old head, and they would dominate the shit out of me.
Yep.
But I was still talking shit because in my mind, they old, they slow, and they can't play.
Yep.
That's what's in my mind.
Yeah,
And
I
then when I
learned
get
a valuable
dominated,
lesson.
I
Yep.
could just,
yeah, valuable.
I could just
Mhm.
envision a young E-man out there talking shit.
Brother,
Yeah.
brother. And you know what? As I got older, come to find out, I couldn't play a lick of basketball.
Right.
But goddamn it, you couldn't tell me
Right.
shit on the court though.
Right. Right.
So it's one of those things that the respect level. You understand what respect is, but you always want to try that line. You always
Mhm.
want to say, hey, you know what? If he played against me, I would dominate him. And that's what these young
Mhm.
kids are doing now. If anybody in the 80s and 90s played against me, we would dominate them. We would dominate them.
Yeah.
You
All
know?
I know is I like the Michael Jordan quote when somebody asked him about, hey, if your championship team played the Lakers championship team, who'd win? And Jordan said we'd win, but probably only by 1 or 2 points. And they say, well,
Yeah.
why would you only win by 1 or 2 points? Well, we're in our 60s.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
All right.
funny.
So let me play. I'm gonna play like what Tim Hardaway. He was on Gil's Arenas, right? And he was talking to Gilbert Arenas, Brandon Jennings, and Nick. What's the girl? Nick. What's the guy named Nick Wright? What is it? Not Nick Wright, but Nick played for the Lakers
Nick
and he played
Young.
for the Wizards. Nick Young. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, let me play what he said about trash talking to guys from the 90s and the 80s. Hold up. Let me fast forward this. Yeah, but basically he got on those guys.
Play. You say, he playing against some scrubs, or he playing against some guys that can't play, and we let him do this and we let him do that. No, man. A lot of you guys couldn't play in our fucking era.
Ooh,
Y'all couldn't play in our era.
Any guys on this couch?
Gil could.
Okay.
We would have beat his ass. We would have knocked him on his ass.
I would have went right by
I was too tall for y'all. No. You probably wouldn't have made it out because you would have been in the game. You would have been in the game, but you wouldn't have had that mentality to make it out. But Gil, he probably could have hung. Oh yeah, it was. When we was growing up,
I couldn't play against Eglo and all them motherfuckers.
hey,
Craig
hey,
Elo.
Man, you better stop him, Hardaway.
you talking about Ego?
Stop this shit.
You talking about Eglo from the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yes, all that.
That motherfucker was nice. That motherfucker was nice.
Man, just
Your
stop,
game was
man.
all right, but you think it was nice.
Man,
Your shit was all right.
Let's just stop. Let's stop.
Yeah, your shit was all right.
It was a couple.
Let me stop it right there real quick though, right? Because this happens a lot too. Nick brought up Craig Elo, right?
Yeah.
And that dude, Craig Elo, was like what Hardaway said. Craig Elo was nice, right? They also brought up Mark Price. Mark Price was my dude. When Mark Price played at Georgia Tech, man, and at the ACC, and he was there when North Carolina was doing their thing. He was there when Duke was doing their thing, and he was giving them that work. Nick Young to me is not as nice as none of those guys he just brought up. Craig Elo, Mark Price, none of those guys, in my opinion, I was never impressed with his game, and that's what I'm saying. Like these young guys, man, I don't know. They just need to basically do their history.
And let me ask you a question. Those Cleveland teams was one of those teams that got buzzsawed by Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Because those
They
Cleveland
had,
teams went to what? 2 championships, right? I mean, 2 Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They was battling it out with Chicago back in the early
They had
days.
a good team.
Yeah.
Craig Elo, they had Dance, they had
Ron Harper.
Ron Harper. Oh man.
Yeah.
Mark Price was
Brad
there when they was.
Daugherty.
Yeah, Brad Douglas said, who's that center? What did Brad Douglas lead that center?
Yep,
Yeah,
Brad
yeah,
Daugherty.
yeah. They had a nice squad over there in
Mhm.
Cleveland, man. Back
And
then.
Mark Price
So,
was a perennial all-star each and every year.
Yeah.
Each and
yeah, he
Yes.
every
was.
year.
That's what I don't know
Mhm.
what this dude Nick Young with like, and like Tom said that Nick Young is God.
See, I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah,
know this game. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
man. I just was.
I don't even see how he making comments about motherfuckers. I mean, are you trying to
Yeah,
boost your podcast or something? Because
yeah,
really, Nick
man.
Young, really, I mean, really.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna play some more though, but he gets to him though.
Good. It was a couple of y'all back in '85 from '89. There was a couple good. He was one of them. Had the Tim Hardaway crossover and all that. But come on, man.
Go ahead. Name another guy. I can't hear you.
I would name Mark Price. Where would he stand?
Mark Price was a bad motherfucker. He don't
What
get
he-
his just due.
But where would he like be ranked in this era if he was?
Rank with this here. It's a lot of motherfuckers couldn't stay with Mark Price. Mark Price was a fast white guy. He could stop on the dime, shoot it in your face, split the double team, knew how to pass the ball, knew how to play the game. Mark Price was a bad motherfucker.
Speedy Caucasian.
You know, Rod Strickland, another motherfucker.
Yeah.
No,
Kevin Johnson,
yeah.
another
Kevin
motherfucker.
Johnson.
Cajun.
All right,
Yeah.
we got some bad motherfuckers in our era.
No, the 90s is fine. My complaint was the 80s. So
Hey,
I don't even think like. I think in my opinion, I think that in the 80s and the 90s, especially the 80s, you had to, because it was so physical. I think the game was actually perfected, in my opinion, in that era because you had to be so physical. I remember watching the
Mhm.
Lakers, Detroit go at it, and like they was just waiting for. They wasn't missing no shots. Everybody was cutting and moving and hitting open shots at both ends, waiting for somebody to blink and make a mistake. You know what I mean? They just was
And see,
man.
and you gotta remember too, back in the days, everybody was good at their position and crafted the rest of it. So when he talked about Mark Price, he was a point guard. He was a great point guard first. He will split you. He was fast. He'd get the ball down court. That was his job. And if he needed to shoot, he could, but he knew what his role was on the team. He knew what his responsibility was, and he made sure he was the best at it. That's the difference between now and then. Back then, the guys knew what their role was and wanted to be the best at their role. So if they was a point guard, they wanted to be the best point guard out there, not the best
Yeah.
player on the court. They wanted to be the best point guard. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole difference, the work ethic. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't understand Nick is talking about. These guys had a work ethic that was unbelievable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, I just didn't. Nick Young was at Georgia Tech. Then he played with John Sally. What was the guy named Bruce Dalrymple? Man, oh man, that man, they was. Mark Price could do everything really. He could shoot, handle the ball,
Right.
and pass. He just was, he just could do
A point guard.
everything.
He was a John Stockton. He knew he could shoot, but his
Yeah.
primary role wasn't to shoot. His primary role was to get the ball down court and set the offense up.
Yeah.
He knew
Yeah,
what
I
his
think-
role was.
I'm just amazed at how NBA ball players don't know the history like that. You know what that's one thing, they try to give credit to different ball players. Be like, oh, he knows the history of the game. He knows this, he knows that. But then when you listen to these guys talk, it's evident that a lot of guys don't know the history of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to
And Mark
listen to
Price,
Mike-
he averaged close to 20 most all his good years. He averaged damn near 20 points a game too.
yeah.
And that's good for a point guard in back in
Yeah.
those days. That's
Yeah.
damn good for a point guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One year he averaged 10 assists. Was it 90-91? He averaged 17 a game, 10 assists. I mean, what we talking about?
Yeah. We talking about a guy who don't know the history of the game. Because
Yes,
anytime you
absolutely.
get those guys who, those guys don't, I mean, really ain't no excuse though. Like I like that Mike and Kobe really knew the history of the game and that's part of what goes into your development,
Yeah.
as a ball player. Because if you know the history, then you be like, whoa, I got to really step my game up, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, So,
Who
yeah.
was
So you got, and the difference between the two is you got to remember, Kobe was born into basketball. You know what I'm
Right. Yeah,
saying?
you're right.
Kobe's father was a great basketball, so he was born into basketball. Michael Jordan developed basketball for himself. That's the ethic that these guys had going forward. Even though Kobe
Yeah.
was born into basketball, he made it sure he was a student first, an athlete second. Like people, a
Mhm.
lot of people that know Kobe spoke 5 different languages. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's not something that you can easily do while being an all-star at what you're doing in basketball.
Mhm.
Work ethics, man. That's what it's about.
who was the guy that really turned you on when you were a kid? Who was the guy that really turned you on to the NBA?
Um,
For me,
Who was your first superstar that you loved?
for
Magic
me, it
Johnson.
probably was
For
Len
me,
Bias. It was Len Bias. Like in college, it would have been Len Bias for me in college.
But as a kid,
You know what I mean?
right? As a kid, who really turned you on?
for
For
me, it
me,
was Magic.
for
It
me,
was
it was
Magic
Dr.
Johnson.
J. It was
he was
Dr.
Yeah.
J
yeah.
because yeah.
But Dr. J, you talking about college or pro? I think college. I used to follow Maryland, so I used to like Albert King, Buck Williams, and all those guys.
Yeah.
You know, um, yeah, man, Albert King and Buck Williams. I used to like those guys, and we had Reggie. What's the guy from Baltimore, Clayton, that played at Maryland with Albert King and Buck Williams.
Are you talking about Ernie Grant?
Ernie Grant, right? Yeah, Ernie
Yeah,
Grant, right?
Ernie
Yeah,
Grant, yeah.
those
Yeah.
guys
Yeah,
play.
remember Larry Gibson? Larry Gibson used to live up the street from me on Dunbar.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but I mean, I didn't watch basketball. See, I fell in love with Dr. J because he was a celebrity, and that took me to basketball. And that's when I started seeing these guys. You know, I used to go down to Dunbar games and stuff, but I wasn't watching. Dr. J was
See,
such a celebrity, you know what I mean? And then I
yeah.
got
See,
introduced.
the crazy part about it for me is I got introduced because where I lived at, Muggsy Bogues, Rod Strickland, that you used to talk about, used to come around our way and play. You know what I'm saying? If anybody familiar with Baltimore, you know, you got the Dome, the Madison Dome, where these
Yeah, the
guys,
Madison
all these
Dome.
Baltimore, all these guys used to come up and play and everything. So that's how I got familiar with the game. But when, like you
Mhm.
said, Jim, when you say loving the NBA, is with Magic Johnson, not his first year, okay, but his second year is when I started loving the game. Really, because then I started, Magic and Kareem and the Showtime with the Lakers and what they brought about. And it wasn't about the basketball play because I really didn't understand. I just loved the showmanship of what they were bringing to the table. So that's what really got me was the showmanship first, and then I started to understand the game and knew that Magic had something special at a 6'9" point guard. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But that's what it did for me.
yeah.
When
I
I was
watched.
when I
Go,
was in junior high up in Minnesota, and I was a Boy Scout, and we got to go work at the U of M as ushers for free. So we got to go in and watch the U of M play, and I got to see probably, I want to say, 20 games and watch Kevin McHale play
mm,
at the U of M.
Mm.
And
okay.
that just being around and watching those games for free was that to me was just like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. And to
Yeah.
see him go into the Celtics, and of course my stepdad at the time, he loved the Celtics, partly because of McHale, partly because of Bird.
Yeah.
And so he went that direction. I'm with you, E-Man. I went Showtime with Magic and Kareem, and from there, yeah, that was
Yep.
it.
Yeah, man. The basketball during that time, though, I just think just was a magical era, man. With those guys all over the country, it was some ballers for real.
And the
Because
competition, I mean,
right.
and that's what those, you don't, you hear them talk about the skill level and how today's players could beat up on those players, but man, if you watch the competition and just, I mean, yeah, they gave it 100. They gave it 100%.
And then,
Yeah.
if you really look at it, you remember what was so special about what the NBA was? It was the fact that if you go to New York and Rutgers, Any point in time, you're bound to see an NBA player playing in there to get his craft up, especially during the off season. You know what I'm saying? You could go. I mean, I remember one of my boys went up there to the Rutgers. He thought he was good, wasn't, but he went up there, and Tracy McGrady was out there playing with him. You know what I'm saying? And that's a special time. That's a moment that you can be like, yo, I'm a regular dude, but I'm playing with an NBA player or I'm playing against an NBA player. And they're doing it not to show off, but they're doing it to hone their craft because they know if they play against the hungrier guys, it'll build their game up. You know what I'm saying? If you're playing against the NBA stars, you know they got their limitations because they all want to get hurt. But you go down and play in these parks like Rucker and everything, these guys give them 120% to make sure that they could get seen or they would be known as a playground thing. When and one came up, that changed a lot of the game. You know what I'm saying? Because and one brought the light on these guys that had special skills, not just somebody that can put the ball in the hoop, but make it flashy when they do it. That's why when Jason Williams came in the game, I love Sacramento with Jason Williams. Because man, let me tell you, that Jason Williams was the shit for me.
That was white
You know what I'm
chocolate,
saying?
man. That
White
was
chocolate was the shit. And let me tell you, I was a Lakers fan, and I hated Kobe and Shaq when they was beating on Sacramento in the championship every year. I hated the Lakers at that point in time because that Sacramento team I loved. And that's because of what I saw through the A&1 program coming up and how that translated into the NBA. But now these stars now, if you catch one of these stars on a court, outdoor court trying to play, they automatically get suspended because the teams don't want them to do it.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. But
I think though, because of the style of basketball, like the style of play for the NBA for the 80s and the 90s, that's why I was saying yesterday that I don't think like that style right there is something that like foreign players can adapt to. That style was so physical and so athletic and so much more intense, I think, than what like some of the foreign basketball players are used to. And I think it was hard for those guys to really adapt to that style of the 80s and the 90s. Once they started watering the league down, though, it's different.
And the trash talk was epic.
Oh yeah,
you get trash talkers today, but no, you can't tell me that anybody trash talk like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. And
it was
the thing about it though is that you had to back it up too, though. Like now, and see, Tim Hardaway said another thing. He said that Tyrese Halliburton talks so much trash, you know. He said, but then they don't back it up, and then after the game, he buddy with the other ball players and stuff like. But it wasn't like wasn't no jersey swiping. I mean, you switch jersey with people. It wasn't none of that back in the day, and you created, people they really honestly really didn't like each other because of how competitive they was, and that made for a better product on the court.
I mean, can you see Isaiah Thomas with a Michael Jordan jersey hanging up in his house?
Right, yeah.
They didn't do that back then. If you didn't like me on the court, I didn't like you, and we going at it. I don't need your jerseys. I don't need your shoes. We going at it.
If that jersey's hanging up, it's got a few arrows in it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's go on to like the NBA standards, right? Like, so where the league is right now, and I wanted to talk about like the Boston Celtics. Like Boston Celtics, do y'all think Boston is for real, or do y'all think like the Boston Celtics are pretenders as far as like
No, they're for real.
Yeah. They're the champs until somebody beats them. They're the champs. We can't. Yeah, I don't think we can disrespect Boston like that until somebody. Even though I think Cleveland has a better record this year, right? So far, Cleveland's at first in the East.
Cleveland number one in the East.
Yeah, but until somebody knock Boston off their championship throne, I'm still going with Boston.
Yeah. I think the better question is Cleveland for real. That's a better question.
Yeah.
Man, I watched them play the Knicks the other night, and
oh my god!
Oh, that was that was an assassination.
Mm-hmm.
They
that
went
was a game.
Yeah.
Because we've seen what Boston can do. Boston has already shown that they can be world champs, and they've done it. Cleveland hasn't. Cleveland killing everything coming their way. The question becomes, are they for real?
Right.
We're gonna find
Yeah,
out,
well,
you know. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you beat teams like Milwaukee and the Knicks
In
and 7 games? That's going to be the question.
Yep. That
Yeah.
becomes the question.
And
Yeah.
the thing about, let me see, Milwaukee is ranked number 5 in the East, right? They behind Indiana.
Right.
I'm surprised, you know, I haven't really had a chance to look at Indiana though, but like Milwaukee, though, what y'all think about Milwaukee? Y'all think they're gonna be able to get it together on a consistent basis for the playoffs?
Well,
if Giannis is healthy,
yeah.
Right.
that I mean, they got the horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 7-game series is a completely different beast than the regular
Right.
series.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like it or not, like Doc Rivers or not, Giannis, they got championship pedigree. Dame Lillard on the team. They got firepower. So, you know, you can't count them out. Can't count them out.
We talked about the last shot yesterday. I put the ball in Damian's hand with the game on the line. He can do it.
Dame Lillard. Yep. So, yeah, but I'm really curious to see how Cleveland, how they fare in the postseason. I'm really curious to see this team in the postseason.
Yeah, I want to see Cleveland too in the postseason. I want to get a look at Cleveland. And
they got such a great backcourt.
Yes.
Yeah,
with Mitchell and Garland and but that guy off the bench, Portman? No. What's his what's
the bench you said?
Yeah. Porter. Yeah. He had a good game the other night.
Yeah.
And I'm not sleeping on the Knicks. I'm not sleeping on the Knicks.
The East is a tough conference, man. East is tough.
Didn't the Knicks make it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year?
They made good ways through there. Yeah. Well, what about Indiana though? What y'all think about Indiana and the dude Tyrese Halliburton? That's his name, right? Halliburton.
Yeah. Well, I like them. I just don't know if Indiana added pieces to get them beyond where they went last year. Have they?
I don't think so. I think they basically look the same as they, roster wise, they look basically the same as they did last year.
Yeah. I like Halliburton. He's a good talent. I'm just saying, like, who knocked them out last year? Was it the Knicks?
I think the Knicks knocked them out last year.
Yeah, and then the Knicks added something. They lost something, but they've added something more scoring. So I don't know what Indiana has done. I can't see Indiana doing nothing with Boston. If you started this series and they had to start off against the Bucks, I'm not sure they beat the Bucks.
Right.
Yeah, I think the playoffs is going to be a 14 race. I mean, I think it's going to be, Cleveland, Boston, Knicks, and Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody else is just filling TV time.
Yeah.
So they need filling TV time.
Get the participation trophies out.
Yeah.
So all right, well, let's go over to the West then, right? So you got OKC as they top in the West, then you got Memphis, Denver, and Los Angeles. I'm surprised Los Angeles is number 4 in the West. Then you owe
JJ Redick an apology.
Man, I mean,
hey, you know what's bigger surprise to me than Lakers being there? Where Minnesota is.
I'm not surprised.
Oh man,
they don't have any bigs. They don't have any.
Where Minnesota is, you trade away. You trade away Cat, and then you take a fall like you doing for trading away one player.
Yeah.
You're thinking they should be. You were expecting them to fall even further.
No, I was expecting them to. If they traded him, they traded him to get better.
Yeah.
So I was expecting them to stay on top of the West. But that form right now that they're doing, it's just they're pulling right now. And I don't understand. Well, I kind of do understand, but it's
Yeah. No, Ant-Man is trying to hold it all together by himself, and Nas Reed's doing okay. But yeah, they just don't have all the pieces. And that was my complaint when they traded away Cat. And yeah, I'm not surprised at where they're at.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Everybody,
Go ahead, Clay.
everybody wanted to blame Cat last year for their fall or for them coming up short and everything. But it was more to the story.
Yeah.
and that's what I was going to say. What's the underlying value of that trade that now we're seeing? Because they definitely did not get better through that trade. So it has to be something else that underlined that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
And to me, the big thing about it is, to me now, exposing your boy Edward, okay? Because his game isn't what it was last year with Townsend, and the fact that now people are like, "Yo, why don't you want to be the face of the league?" Well, it's not something I'm looking for. But last year you were talking about how much of an all-star you were. You know what? So I'm just, to me, that Timberwolf thing is a
well,
big disappointment for me.
yeah, but I'm not going to take nothing off Anthony Edwards' year he's having, because I think he's still averaging close to 30.
Yeah.
So
No,
I mean,
he's trying to put him on his shoulder.
I'm not going to take nothing from that. But as far as him not wanting to be the face of the league, right? That's his. See, that's my thing. I don't know why people keep thinking automatically that the leading scorer, the best player, is supposed to naturally be something. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't make that person be that.
I think that type of mentality though that's the same type of mentality that Kevin Durant have, and I don't think that like that type of mentality. Sometimes you got to accept responsibility whether you want to or not. So if you that dude, you that dude.
He's
I
23.
think he does.
He's 23.
And I also think he does accept responsibility. Like, I don't think he comes out at press conferences when things don't go well and he's throwing teammates under the bus. He's always starting with himself first. Always.
Yeah. But I'm basically going by what he said in that press conference, but he don't want to be like the face of the league.
There's nothing wrong with that.
He's 23. He's 23. Let him.
Yeah, I just can't recall. I can't recall nobody in the the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s like making that type of
You
statement.
know,
Well,
you know
but
what it is?
this goes back. This goes back to what we were saying earlier, though, about Angel Reese. Everything that you say now gets out there instantly, right?
Right.
And there are no filters. There are no. I mean, it's you say it. It's out there, and maybe the dudes back in the 80s said those things.
Right. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure people said it. I'm sure people had that mindset. But like the thing is the public part of it. That's the thing. Like if he feels like the public part of it is the part that I don't think that, because everything is not for public consumption.
Listen,
I think it's basically it. Oh, go ahead.
The media wasn't constantly asking Larry Bird, "Are you the face of the league?" Magic, "Are you the face of the league?" Michael, "Are you the face of the league?" It wasn't a talking point because you had a Mike and them do what they did, and that becomes now that's part of the nerve. Now every guy has to be that and has to say I'm that or be looked at as that's nonsense. Like them guys didn't care nothing about that. They was playing basketball, and the media wasn't constantly, "Are you the face of the league?" or "We should be the next."
I'm gonna tell you the reason why you don't ask Larry Bird, Mike, and all them, because they demonstrate on the court. People have been questioning because of his shot, because of Edwards' shot selection and some of his decisions on the court. They questioned. They were like, "All right, last year, look at you last year, and your play looks a whole lot different this year than it did last year." So naturally, that's going to be the question. So they want to see progression. He didn't make any progression. Actually, his scoring level is probably about the same, but there's other things on the court that people who know basketball So they asked him that question for a reason. They didn't ask the dude Gilchrist, Shea Alexander Gilchrist, the same question. They asked him that question, and they asked it for a reason.
Right. Because the NBA is still stuck in this mindset that they need a face of the league to grow their game. They're still trying to create and recreate Michael Jordan. That's why they keep asking these dumb questions.
But the league needs that though. The league needs that. The league needs a face. They have always succeeded with a face, so they need that.
That's true.
But what I'm saying, I think his problem and his issue may be the fact that he's scared of what comes with that statement. Okay, he doesn't want to take on the responsibility. He say, okay, if you want me to lead, if you calling me the face of the league, that's fine. But when you take on that responsibility and you don't live up to it, the media crucifies these guys now.
Right.
We as podcasters crucify these guys now. So if he was to go on and say, like, okay, you know what, the responsibility of the league now is going to be on my back. I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure it happens. As in the next 20 games, he averages 5 points a game, gets hurt, Minnesota's out the playoffs. First thing we're going to be like, well, he said he was the greatest guy in the league right now. It's the expectation that goes with that statement. And I don't think the NBA is killing themselves with the situation that, like you said, Clay, they shouldn't put that on a player. A player should even want that. A player should want that. And what the NBA is trying to do is they're trying to create that. And that's the problem that they have.
Remember this statement, you guys. The leader will emerge. You don't make him. The leader will emerge. When it's time for students to be taught, the teacher will appear. The NBA has to let it emerge and let it appear. He's fantastic as a player. Let it play out.
The NBA is scared because the last time they saw this was in the early 70s when they almost folded. They're scared right now. They are scared when LeBron retires and Steph retires. You know what I'm saying? They're scared to be like, oh my God, what we're going to do? Because you got players like Wembley that's being hurt. You know, them stars that they thought was going to step up are constantly hurt. Embiid, you know, all these stars, you know, they're just coming back. So the NBA is scared. They're scared right now with viewership going down and everybody talking, you know, 50% good, 50% bad about that brand and that product. Like, what the hell are we going to do? They're not in the same position the WNBA is, where their stars are now becoming stars and stepping up as stars organically, like you would say. They're doing it organically. You know, these, like Caitlin Clark, you know she's going to be a star. And she's carrying it like, I want to be a star, and this is what I need to do to become a star. You know what I'm saying? Whereas though the NBA, their stars are not even participating in the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? For one reason or the other. So this is what their future stars looking forward to. Like, damn, if LeBron doesn't, prime example, LeBron has never done a dunk contest. And look how bad the dunk contest has gotten since he's came into the league.
Man, let me ask
everybody
you this,
wants it.
Let me ask you this then, man. So if when stars don't participate and like, do you think there's a sense of responsibility that they should play and participate in those events for the All-Star game, for the fans or for the league? You know, do you think it's a sense of responsibility, or that's the league's problem?
I think it's a balance of both. One, I think the league needs to make it enticing enough to make sure that the players are there. Okay, and if the bag rules the league right now, then look, you can give the team $1 million to do this play-in tournament, but you can't give them anything to do this All-Star game, which you know the All-Star game is the pivotal point for you and your product. Yeah. Now, as a player, you gotta, to me, as a player, has to have the ability and the want and the hunger to be recognized on a big stage as one of the top performers on a big stage. And that's where I think that the players are lacking at. Nobody wants to be a performer on the big stage. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. Let me ask Jim. Jim, do you think that star players in the league owe it to the league and to the fans to participate in those type of events for the fans and for the league? Should star players basically be ambassadors for the league?
I would love to see it. I just don't know if we've already if the cat's out of the bag or I mean if the toothpaste is out of the out of the container. I don't know how can it be repaired. I don't know. I would love to see that we're in that environment, but here's why I'm equivocating on this. Let's say LeBron did participate in the slam dunk contest or even the 3-point contest. Does he have the skills to compete with the guys that is their specialty?
Right. Yeah.
I maybe not. He's a great player. Some people put him on the Mount Rushmore of players.
So
his
IQ
IQ is way up there, but could he have reasonably competed at the level to win the slam dunk contest? We talk about how creative you have to be able to do some of that athletic stuff. Michael Jordan did it because he was that dude. Could LeBron? I think there's risk there. If LeBron did it and he was just average at the slam dunk contest, does that hurt the slam dunk contest?
I don't think so. I think if he'd have did it like early in his career, and I don't think LeBron is really a creative dunker. I don't think he like a Dominic Wilkins, Michael Jordan. I don't think he like that. But if he'd have took that chance and put himself out there one time, I think he wouldn't be receiving the criticism because I think the point behind the criticism is like him being an ambassador for the game. You know what I mean? Like to put the game, to humble yourself to a point where you don't think that you bigger than the game, but to put the game also in a situation where you can hand it off to the next generation. And so that's what people think that they're not getting from LeBron James and Kevin Durant. It's like it's more so player power and it's me.
but the fear of failure, is probably what is driving all this. I don't want to do it is because hey, if I do it and I lose, then what if my brand looks like at that point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back in the day, they didn't care because it wasn't about what your brand looked like at the end. It was about having fun in the beginning and getting your brand out there. Like you're in the dunk contest. People know when you're in the dunk contest. I mean, one of the most exciting dunk contests was Jordan versus Dominique.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then if you look at it, look who popped up, Spread Webb. You know what I'm saying? That's the combination of what that brings into. You're not gonna if LeBron didn't win no dunk contest, wouldn't nobody be like, oh my God, LeBron can't dunk. They'd have just been like, yo, look who won the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of dunk contests Jordan didn't win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Did y'all hear what Michael Jordan said about failures though? Like he said his failures way outnumber his successes. You know what I mean? So it's not about that. It's about the fact that people want to see you try and people want to see you promote and pass on, like I say, pass that.
Right. And prime example, look at Steph Curry. He didn't have to go against the women last year in the 3-point contest.
Right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? If he'd have lost that, you think that'll diminish his brand any worse?
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It wouldn't have diminished his brand any worse.
Not Steph Curry.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's the product of they're feeling as though if I do this and I'm not successful, what's the outcome of my brand? Because in basketball and in every sport right now, it ain't about the game, it ain't about the team, it ain't even about the fans. It's about the individual brands that these athletes have now and what they're calling themselves.
And with social media, you become a meme, man. You go viral.
And so I think Jermaine brought up a great point too. So Jermaine says that Kevin Durant is a shooter. I don't remember any complaint about him not being in a 3-point contest. And to be honest, now that I think about it, I would have liked to see Kevin Durant take part in that shoot, win or lose. You know what I mean? I think that would have been good for the league for Kevin Durant to be in there, win or lose. You want to see
exactly
superstars. I think you want to see
Like
superstars.
the thing about the All-Star game was you was guaranteed the 3-point contest had the best 3-point shooters in the game. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. If you know Larry Bird didn't participate in the 3-point contest, it's because his back. But you
Yeah,
knew Mark Price and all the rest of them were going to be in there. You know what I'm saying? You looking forward to seeing the best at their craft, just like the
right.
dunk contest. You looking forward to the dunk contest because you knew the best. Everybody want to be labeled as the best dunker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So everybody tried their best. All the fans are looking for is just the competition of what's going on. They don't
right,
give a
right.
shit about who wins or who loses. It's all about the competition.
Yeah,
And the NBA and that bag kills the competition. Nobody wants to look bad, or nobody
yeah,
wants to lose. Let me say that.
That's why
Nobody
yeah.
wants
Or
to
be
lose.
the ambassador. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's why I feel like it's the toothpaste is out of the tube, and I don't know that we can put it back in.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Because once you get superstars and people who supposedly hold the torch now, not trying to pass the torch on or representing the game in a way that the game needed to be represented. Yeah, then it kind of you're right. The toothpaste is out of the tube now. I don't know how you get it back in, as far as like getting these superstars to compete. Dude, what about the guy Anthony Edwards? Did he compete in any of the dunk contests since he's been in the league? I don't recall him
Oh,
competing either. I
yeah.
like
I
the
don't know. I don't know.
what Jalen Brown. He competed. The guy from up in Boston. I thought he competed. I don't think he won. But you know what happened one year? Somebody competed and they lost, and then they said he said he would never do it again. I forgot the guy's name, but
Well, if you look at the guy from the G League has won 3 years in a row.
yeah.
So
Well,
if you
Matt
look at it
something.
that way,
Yeah, yeah. I forgot who, but yeah. I think though it's about supporting the league, though. Giving back to the league, and people don't see enough of that. As far as like these stars. That's it. Oh, so look. Since Jimmy Butler has gone to Golden State, they are 6-4, right? 6-4. Their last 10, their last 10 games, he's 6-4. Do y'all think Jimmy Butler be enough to move the needle and get them into the playoffs at Golden State?
yeah,
I
I
do
thought,
believe they will make the playoffs. I do
Yeah,
believe that,
yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt.
yeah.
yeah. You said yeah, man.
They'll make the playoffs. They'll make the
But
playoffs.
but will they make just the play-in, or will they make
Yeah.
the series playoff?
I was just looking at they probably like an 11th, 10th, or 11th place now. So it's
They're in
looking more
ninth right
so.
now. They're in
They're
ninth.
ninth. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
they'll make the playoffs. I think
They're in
they'll.
they're in the play-in.
yeah,
So because 8 plays 10, and I mean 8 plays what? How they do that? It's 4 teams in a playing game, right?
Right. So if you're the top of the 4, you only have to win. Now I'm trying to remember how they do it. It's kind of funky, right? So 9 plays 10, and the winner of that then it and yeah, it's kind of funky. If you're 10, you got to win like 3 games to make it in. But
Oh, wow.
Okay.
if you're 7, you just have to win 1 or 2. Yeah.
Because it's 7 through 10 plays each other, right, for the play-in, right?
I think so. Yeah.
If Anthony Davis don't come back, I think Dallas slides a little bit more.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, Dallas is going to slide because I don't see Anthony Davis coming back.
Well, he's gonna come back. I don't think he's out for the season, but
I hope he come back, man. I want to see them. I want to see them do. With
and
Anthony Davis.
if he's healthy and they get in, that's my dark horse, Dallas.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think. Mhm.
I'm thinking, in my dark horse, I'm thinking is Golden State because you got that championship pedigree in Golden State, and then you got a guy in Jimmy Butler who raises his game. In the playoffs.
Hey, my dark horse would be Denver.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Man,
dark horse
Did you
either.
see
Denver is
where
my
the
dark
Lakers?
horse.
Did you see what the Lakers did to them last night?
I did. I did. I still go with them. But
I
yeah,
It was
know.
disrespectful. It was
Luke,
It was
disrespectful. But they let them
disrespectful.
catch up, and then they really expanded their lead on them. So yeah,
Yeah.
they looked like they was
yeah, yeah,
playing.
yeah. Luca, and LeBron, put it on them boys. But
Yeah, but Luka and LeBron, when it's time for them to play some defense, though, where's that defense gonna come from on the Lakers side? You know what I mean? Where, like, who you got two dudes out there who religiously believe in not playing defense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing about the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
so
The
go ahead. I'm
format,
sorry.
yeah, the format of the play-in is 7 plays 8, and whoever wins, that's the 7th seed.
Okay.
And the loser plays the winner of the 9-10 game, right? So if you're
Gotcha.
7th or 8th and you lose, you still can get the 8th seed if you beat the winner of the 9-10.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a lot going on for a playoff bracket. Excuse me, Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot, man. Who can make it out? How can you stand a chance to make it to the to the championship? You playing all that basketball.
I mean,
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, what was the reason for the change, though? Why can't you just do the top 18? What was the reason for the change the way it is?
Who knows? I don't know.
More TV time, or okay.
More participation trophies.
Yeah. Well, fellas, we've been on for another 4-5 hours. Yeah, man. I thought we had another good show. Appreciate y'all as usual. I want to thank Time, Jermaine for participating in the chat. I thought they came up with some they made some good contributions and some good statements to the program. Yeah, man. Anybody got anything to plug or add before we get out of here? Yeah,
it's all good.
Hey, I wanted to ask you. So you got something coming up, like another podcast or program you working on?
Yeah, yep. I got some political stuff coming up for the state of Maryland. Political podcast coming up for the state of Maryland, and then I got a woke consciousness program. A podcast coming up. That Clayton, I know you. Hey, man, I know you woke and I know you conscious, man. I would love to have you on. Talking some real, conscious and woke type situations. So we'll definitely get back and do that. I got that coming up. But I want to plug this one thing. In the Baltimore area, the CIAA tournament is coming up next week. You know what I'm saying? Which has some fine HBCU schools playing down a new arena. So I hopefully everybody in the Baltimore, the DMV area can come and support that. You know what I'm saying? Baltimore, we need to keep that here. So we need to support that as much as we can. So Mike, I hope you come down, man. I hope you come down for some good games, man.
Yeah, I'm coming. I already spoke to Corey about it. He asked me if I wanted to go to some of them games. Yeah, so definitely, I definitely want to go to. And I'm hoping that Mikey can come down there too. We can check out some games, some of the double out. What's up, Clay? You trying to go?
Yeah, man. I guess so. Yeah, you got to keep me in the loop a little bit.
As a matter of fact, Corey asked me to. He said, "Man, swing by and get Clayton." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Hey, I would be there with you guys, but I'm here to security for the whole CIAA. So I'll be working. Yeah, I'll be working down there. So.
Oh wow.
Man, that mean I don't have to buy a ticket. You could just open one of them side doors.
Yeah, one of them side doors.
I appreciate that.
Hey, I wish it was, but that means I'm gonna be up in a booth somewhere monitoring all the other officers, not opening up guard gates and letting people in. But yeah, I hope all the DMV area come and support the CIAA. You got March Madness coming up, and then the CIAA is a good way to get into that March Madness field that everybody can get into right now.
Yeah,
that's the show we got to do. We got to talk about March Madness. We haven't been talking about men's basketball lately.
Man, I haven't been watching college basketball.
Go Duke. That's all I gotta say. Go Duke.
Flag, right? Is he a senior?
That's right.
Is he a senior?
Yeah, freshman.
No, I think he's a freshman. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, freshman.
Yeah. Oh, he's a one and done. Dukies don't stay. Yeah, Dukies don't stay long. Soon as their name gets to the press, they're gone. They ain't even gotta be good. Long as the press talking about it just a little bit, they're gone. Yeah. So
Right.
Out of all the superstars we had at Duke, remember we only had what, maybe 3 guys that won the championship out of all the superstar players that came out of Duke.
So the way
So
you say we, I'm assuming you're a Duke fan.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my
Hey,
goodness.
since
Yeah.
hey, since the early '80s, man.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
what was it? Dan Furry? Dan Furry was out playing with them.
Danny Ferry, yeah.
Danny Furry, yep. Been
Yeah.
a Duke fan,
Mm,
so
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, this kid
All
a
right, man.
freshman. Woo.
Uh,
All right.
yep. One
and
and
again,
done.
want everybody to make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody who participated in the comments. And don't forget to leave a comment. With that being said, we'll see y'all next Saturday at 1 o'clock. We are out. Peace.